Thank you for having me. Yeah. Very exciting. Yeah. Oh, my dad would be so proud, you know, I'm sure. But my dad is now, he would be looking down on us. Not dead, just very condescending. But this is good. Yeah, I still live with my dad as well. He's quite old-fashioned, my dad. Old-fashioned, that's a good phrase, isn't it? What it basically means is racist. But he is quite... I don't condone that. I'm very anti any kind of prejudice, racism and homophobia. Well, I guess I'm homophobic in the same sense that I'm arachnophobic. I'm not scared of spiders. I'm not scared of gays. Though I would probably scream if I saw one in my bath. But it's hard living at home because I get scared by everything, you know, like with the news. Don't watch the news, that gets me scared. Like, you've got to look for the funny things in the news, and it's normally on American news stations. Like, my favourite story I ever saw was a story about the Californian forest fires. It said in it, 300 mobile homes have been destroyed. Now, I don't know whether there are that many advantages to a mobile home, if any. But one of the main ones, the big selling point of the mobile home, is that you're not really tied down to an area. Especially if the said area is on fucking fire. But it's hard, because I have to watch the news as well with my dad, who's 70 now, and he's decided he doesn't care what comes out of his mouth anymore. That's the problem. I was watching a very emotional story about a woman that had been shot outside a KFC. And there was this whole emotional thing, interviewed some of her friends and family, everyone was crying, it was horrible. Then at the end, the news reporter summed up the story, said, an innocent woman shot by a man she'd never met in a drive-by shooting outside a Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant. By a man she'd never met. Back to you in the studio, Jeff. And there was a pause in my living room. My dad just turned to me and he went, that's not a restaurant. It's not the point. He's all incontrollable what he says, and it's like a fucking Tourette's. I watched a story with him about Robert Mugabe, the African dictator. Now, my dad doesn't like Robert Mugabe, but no one likes Robert Mugabe. He's a very evil man. I could see my dad was getting quite built up by this. He was red in the face, veins were tremoring on his forehead. Any minute now, he was going to blow. And then suddenly, from nowhere, he just went off on one. He's like, oh my God, he's the most odious man. He's a ghastly, wretched, Rhodesian little pimp. He's a horrible, nasty, odious fucking cunt. And then he said it, the word you're not meant to say. He dropped the C-bomb in front of my mother, and she went mental. She saw a man from the sink. She said, look, Michael, I realise that he is a terrible man, but you do not use that word in this household. You do not use that word in front of my children. My dad swung round to her, no word of a lie, looked her in the eye and he said, this is typical of you, Hillary. Always defending Mugabe. I get annoyed though when I watch the news. You do get annoyed when you watch the news. The worst one is when I was watching that stuff during the recession of all the bankers that were losing their jobs outside like Lehman Brothers and stuff, and you saw grown men in floods of tears on the news. You saw the tears running down their faces. Their fat faces. And then you saw them wiping the tears off their cheeks on the sleeves of Armani jackets. And then you remembered, oh yeah, fuck bankers. Fuck them in the arse. Every single one of those cokey, wanky assholes use their massive Christmas bonuses to fund tennis coaches that are screwing their wives into oblivion behind their own backs, or the school fees for their yuppie daughter Tara Masalata, who got a Porsche before her first period, and completely and utterly neglect the lives of their sons that dropped out of university and have taken up ludicrous hobbies like stand-up comedy as a desperate cry for help. The funny things on the news, otherwise it's too depressing. I saw a story on CNN News where they had a so-called expert who was being interviewed, and he genuinely said obesity is now a bigger threat to the United States of America than Al-Qaeda. It's not. What would you rather have sat next to you on the plane? Some mental guy with a beard and a 100-yard stare with a backpack full of Semtex? Or just a jolly little fat kid with a backpack full of Doritos? I'm not fatty. Because it's hard. I don't like... Obesity is obviously a massive issue, and it is very hard to stay healthy. The guy earlier was talking about personal trainers. I once got a personal trainer. It was the biggest mistake of my life. A guy called Brett. He was from Seth Ithaca. He was fucking terrifying. I paid him each week to come around to my house and bully me, and he was shouting at me all the time. I'm quite a sensitive soul. I couldn't take it. Eventually I flipped. He was like, go on, Jack, push yourself, mate. You price the burn. Look at my body, Jack. How do you think I got to where I am today? I don't know, Brett. Maybe because you didn't listen at school. It's fucking pathetic. It's hard though, isn't it, to stay fit? Because everything's there to trick you when you're trying to be more healthy. Like, food's the worst. worse when you buy food and it has the packaging on the food. That little nutritional wheel, the wheel of guilt, that lulls you in. You buy something, it's like, oh, this yogurt only contains 5% of your daily intake of calories. You're like, oh, that's very promising. The little white writing above it, 1/8 of a pot. You can't fucking do that, you cheeky bastards. You can't put on it whatever makes it sound good to sell the product. They make up a ludicrously unrealistic portion size. That's like, you know, Tim Howard's going, oh, these Timbits only contain 2% of your daily intake of calories if you lick them. Outrageous. Oh, I'm about to go. Before I go, I mentioned I still live at home with my parents, which is fine, but it became quite hard recently because I got into my first ever long-term relationship, which was a nightmare when you're still living at home, because my mum will do anything she can to deter me from having sex in the family home. The first thing she did, I turned 18, she bought me this new bed. Loudest bed I've ever fucking come across in my life. It's essentially like an antique oak door on top of 4 rusty springs with a duvet made out of bubble wrap, and that's what I'm having sex on. And it's not like I'm having loud sex as well, I'm doing everything I can to make this the quietest sex I possibly can. We're fucking like we're Anne Frank's parents. It's that quiet. Yeah, she didn't put that in the diary, but we're doing it. Because I don't even enjoy sex anymore. For me, sex is like arriving at the theatre late and trying to find your seat. It's just a lot of shuffling, a bit of shushing, a pause, and then just from somewhere in the darkness, I'm sorry. There's no romance. You come back from an evening out, you're like, hey, do you want to do a bit of role play? Could you just play dead, please? You guys have been very nice. I haven't been very good. Thank you very much. Good night.